today we're going to talk about something that happened all the way back in 2010. It's been over a decade since this has happened, but it's still a huge impact on my family's lives. Um, Back in 2010, I was 10 years old. I was in 5th grade. And at this time, my father was still in my life. And I would go see him on weekends. So I spent my weekends at his house. And I believe it was a Friday. And it was pretty early on a Friday. I think Tara was at the mall, so she wasn't with me at my biological dad's house. And my mom was working for sure. And I think that my sister Riley and my dad were the only ones home. And I'm pretty sure they say it happened during like early hours and it was a school day because Riley was homesick, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I just know that I was at my biological father's house. I was sitting on the couch when he got the call, and he just looked over at me and he's like, "Your house is on fire." And I was like, "Oh, oh, what?" He's like, "Your house caught fire." And I don't really remember much on that weekend, but I remember getting dropped off at, I believe, Mark's parents' house because they lived close, and I think we were staying with them for a little bit until we could find some situation. And I learned that a candle was left in our basement area because we had a 2-story house in Pittsburgh, and you walked in and it was stairs, so you could either go up or down. I don't know why I went. You could either go down or up the stairs. And upstairs was a dining room, living room, kitchen, outside, and then the hallway where Riley's bedroom was, my bedroom was, Riley's bedroom across from the bathroom, my bedroom across from my parents' room. In the basement was my sister's bedroom, like right at the bottom of the stairs. Then it went into like the basement family room, and then there was a laundry room and a garage. And also there was like a small bathroom in the family room. I hope that clears up the setup. So, in the family room, there was 2 computers and like all of our dolls and stuff. And ironically, there was lighter fluid and nail polish remover on the desk with the computers and all the printer stuff. And my father had lit a candle to like change the smell. I mean, why do you light a candle? To smell it. And Mark had left it downstairs just by itself. Riley was somewhere in the house. My dog was probably with Riley. We had 2 cats at the time. They were indoor outdoor cats, so they were probably somewhere around. Oh, we had 3 cats at the time. Sorry, we had 3 cats at the time. They were somewhere around, and I don't know if he forgot about it or if we just trusted it, but it got to the point where the candle exploded and it caught everything downstairs on fire. And I think Riley was the one to smell smoke. And she tells my dad, "Hey, I smell smoke. I just got back from the fireplace. They told us that if we smell smoke, we have to get out of the house." And he goes to walk downstairs, and I think it's just a bunch of smoke and, probably a bunch of flames because everything around it was flammable. So he grabs Riley, and like the dog, and they get out of the house and call the fire department. And our house, it didn't burned down, like, to the ground. I mean, it wasn't the best. I remember there being a hole in the kitchen floor. Um, but it was really attacked by the smoke. And the fire department, during, like, putting out the flames, checking the house, I'm not exactly sure. They found my cat in Riley's bed, I believe, all just snuggled up. He had smoke inhalation. They did CPR on him, and he went to, I guess, the vet, and he later passed because of it. I think we probably decided to end up putting him down, but the smoke inhalation got to him, and he was in Riley's bedroom, which was above the laundry room, which was the worst room that was attacked by smoke wise. It basically, I remember it basically being like black. I remember the only thing that we left living wise in the house, besides the cat, which we didn't know about, was the fish. And I didn't know fish go white with smoke in tainted water, so that was fun to learn at 10. And I really think it was really important because Riley didn't walk through with us, and I think it was important for her not to see that because that was rough as a kid. But everything that we owned had to go through like a cleaning process. And we stayed with Mark's parents for a bit, and then we moved into a townhouse temporarily. And I remember us getting our stuff back from the cleaning process, and it just didn't feel like it was mine. Like, I had American Girls. Like, I had them out the wazoo. They were like my friends. As sad as that sounds. But I like marked them up to make sure that I knew they were mine, and like they didn't come back with the markings and stuff. And then we got stuff that wasn't ours, and then some of our stuff wasn't coming back at all, and some of the stuff that we thought we would get back was missing. Like, we got Riley's baby blanket back, we got Tara's baby blanket back, but we did not get my baby blanket back. And when we walked through, I saw it on the bed. It just needed washed. So we lost a lot of memory valuables. We lost a lot of valuables, but like those weren't the hard hits. And then I remember that in order to kind of get our insurance money, we had to go and buy things to turn in the receipts because we had to repurchase stuff, and we had to repurchase baby stuff, and what are we gonna do with that? Like, now we just have baby stuff. Like, it puts you in a weird situation of like, I can't afford to buy anything, but in order to get the money I need to buy things, I have to spend money. I mean, that's life. We have to spend money to survive in order to make money to spend more money, and it's just a vicious cycle. But like, it put a dent in us. Like, we bounced back. We're okay. But for some reason, I feel like having that fire, having that huge of a hit, it was just a lot to handle. And, you know, it wasn't the only thing going around on in our lives at that time. Like, in 2009, my grandma passed away, and that was a huge hit on me. And then at some point, by my birthday, my mom was going into surgery for her thyroid issue. And so it was a lot going on. And having your whole life switched up like that was just a ton. And then you would go home and it wouldn't be your home. You would go home and it would be your grandparents' house. And you wouldn't feel 100% in your space. And then you go to a place and you're in a townhouse and you have to share a room with your sister, and like she's collecting ladybugs in her jewelry box and they're dying. She was a weird child, and we had to walk in a closet, and I just wanted the landing area to myself. I've always been that kid that needs that space, and not having that space was a lot. And I don't think anyone in our social lives really knew. I don't think our friends really knew. At least I don't think mine did. I didn't have friends really when I was 10, so there wasn't that many people that were affected by it. I think it may be one person. So I was really kind of in this weird headspace of handling it alone and not having friends kind of to be relying on, but also you have your whole family and you're all going through it together, but we didn't talk about it. We talked about it, but we didn't talk about how it was affecting us, because there was just so much going on. We didn't have time for emotions. We didn't have time to properly evaluate what we went through, that it was traumatic, that it was something that is going to affect us for the rest of our lives. Just recently, I started relighting candles. I didn't start until I was 20. It took me a decade, basically. Tara is anxiety-ridden with candles. We had candle melters for years because we always got candles as gifts, and we were like, we can't light that. No, it's gonna explode. It's gonna explode, and it's gonna ruin our house again. It's gonna take our life and throw it to the wind, because everything we knew changed. Yeah, my mom, her job, we still went to the same school, we still talked to the same people, but where you go home to is where you really just feel safe, or are supposed to. And you're supposed to feel secure, and that it's your own space, and that you can be yourself. And it's where, as a kid, you develop your personality, is in your room, kind of playing with your imaginary friends or playing with your toys and stuff. And when you go home and you don't have that, it's hard to express yourself. It's hard to talk to people. It's hard for people to... Hi. Where was I? I have no clue where I was. But not being able to come home to your outlets like that, your toys, your comforts, your safe space, your security, for it to be different, for it to not be something you're used to, for it not to have the comfort you're used to, is hard. And it was really hard knowing that a lot of my stuff didn't make it back. A lot of my sister's stuff didn't make it back. But I was upset because Riley had her baby blanket. Riley had her baby stuffed animal. Riley had all of her comfort items. And they didn't know what was going to happen to mine. And they kept saying Riley's room was worse than mine. That Riley had one of the worst rooms when it came to smoke. And I was just so confused. I was like, well, then why is none of my stuff coming back? And when we finally got my stuff back, and I realized my blanket wasn't in there, and thankfully my baby bear was, I I was really, really sad because it was like a piece of me. And I started to become really unattached to things because of that. Because, like, I felt like everything was going to go away at some point. Like, I was at the point where we were also changing schools and my friend was dropping and, life was changing and I was losing a lot of things. So I became very unattached, I think, because of the fire and because of what happened around the time of the fire. I think that I started looking at everything as temporary and not long lasting, because looking back now, everything really is temporary in my life at this point, like, or was. And, the fire is when I started, the fire time period, 2009 to, let's say, 2011, I might say, is when I really went through those big changes. And I think I processed things a little differently than everyone else, and I became very unattached to everything. Losing my grandmother, realizing what death was, going through and losing all of my physical items, and then losing my friend, and changing schools. I think almost losing my mom, like, it made me very unattached to people and items, and in general, it made me very also scared to become close to people because everyone leaves, kind of situation. So I think that, unfortunately, the fire had a big toll on the way I attach myself to people and items, and just, I honestly think, really, people. I think that my grandma, my mom's thyroid, and the fire have a huge effect on my attachment skills, and that the fire had a huge impact, maybe, on the way, I think the fire had a huge impact on the way I attach myself to things, because I do like my things, don't touch my things kind of stuff, and at the same time, like, there's that point in time where I can turn off my emotions to things or people and just never think about it again, because going through the fire taught me how you may want something, but you don't need it. You have all these nice things, but they're gone in an instant, and it shows you don't need it. It sucks, but you'll be okay. So I think I process that as a way of being able to detach myself from things or people for a period of time, because I regret giving away a lot of my things. Like, all the stuffed animals I got back from the fire, I kind of regret giving those away. But I turned off my feelings towards them when I put them in a garbage bag and put them in a donate section, because I was like, it's going to help someone else. Maybe another kid will play with it and, it'll live on. Otherwise, it's just going to stay in my closet. And, I'm done. Emotion's done. Like, it's okay. And then there's some days now, 10 years later, I'm like, I'm kind of upset that I did that. Like, the Webkins were cute and the Huskies and but at the same time, I don't think that's a bad thing that I can do that, because it teaches me each time that I'm stronger than I think I am. I can move on if something or someone decides that they don't want to be around me anymore, or if I decide that, and that I will be okay. And that there's not anything in this world that can really prevent me from being me unless I let it. And I think because of the fire, because of the way I dealt with it, and the way I kind of just disconnected from people and items and turned off my emotions, I think it's taught me a lot about myself and others. So I'm actually really grateful for all of that. And I'm extremely grateful that I know that if I lived without something before, I can live without it again. And just because I have something in life, it's not guaranteed, but even if it goes away, I'll be okay. And I think the fire and the whole situation overall taught me that. Even if it took 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, it taught me that eventually, and that was worth it. And it was a horrible situation to go through, but my family came out of it stronger, and I came out of it stronger, and that's what's important.